Welcome to our lesson about the navigation bar. It's currently docked at the top of my graphic area. The navigation bar is one of Inventor's two tools for orienting your model. We learned how to use the other orientation tool in our previous lesson on the View cube. If you don't see the navigation bar, go to the View tab, Windows panel, User Interface, ensure navigation bar is checked. If you still don't see it, just click anywhere on your interface to make sure Inventor's the active program. My View cube is disabled, so it appears here as the first icon in my navigation bar. Here's the steering wheel or navigation wheel. Pan, zoom and its sub-options, orbit, view face, previous view, next view, projection type, orthographic or perspective, and shaded display options. At the end of the bar is the Customize arrow. Click on it to access additional options. Let me redock the navigation bar on the top right so you can see the menu flyout better. Now it's docked top left, and let's click the Customize arrow again. The tools marked with a check mark are available on the navigation bar. To add a tool to the navigation bar, just select it from this list. Let's add Zoom Selected to the navigation bar. Here's the regular zoom tool, and down below is a magnifying glass with an arrow inside it. That's the Zoom Selected tool. Removing a tool is easy. Customize, deselect the tool you want to remove, and Zoom Selected disappears from the toolbar. You can also right-click on any tool you want to remove and click Remove from Navigation Bar. In this lesson, I'll be showing you how to use all of these view manipulation tools with the exception of the steering wheel, which I'll be covering in my next lesson since that needs a little more time, being a standalone, unified view manipulation tool. All right, I've got the Customize options open. Let's begin by reviewing docking positions and the opacity selections. Link to View cube, this is checked, and when it's checked, both the navigation bar and the View cube are repositioned together around the current window. When View cube isn't visible, the navigation bar is docked in the same location in which the View cube would normally appear. The current docking position is indicated with a check mark. I've got my bar docked on the top left. Let's see how it looks on the top right. Customize, bottom left, and bottom right is our final option. We can also freely position the navigation bar along the edge of the current window. Let me restore to the top left position so you can better see the menu flyouts. Customize again. Ensure that Link to View cube is unchecked. The grip handle appears right here. It's just mouse over it and then left-click. The cursor changes to the drag symbol. Grab. Now you can drag the navigation bar freely along the edge of the window or anywhere in the window. You can reposition it anywhere along the edge of the window. If you drag the bar out into the graphic window and release your mouse button, the navigation bar will snap to the nearest edge. Okay, let's take a look at the Customize options again. First, let's redock in a better viewing position for you. Up to the top left, Customize again. Inactive Opacity. As with the View cube, this refers to how opaque or non-transparent the navigation bar is when you're not mousing in its vicinity. Let's try 0%. This means that it's not visible until you mouse close to it. Let's restore the 50% inactive opacity. Active opacity. This refers to how opaque the navigation bar is when it's active or when you've moused into its vicinity. The available values range from 25% active opacity all the way up to 100%, which is what we've currently got selected. Here's how the navigation bar looks at 25% active opacity. Let's restore to 100. It's just a little bit easier to view. Okay, let's learn how to use some of the tools. You left-click to activate a tool. Notice the cursor changes. Here I've got the pan symbol. We can now pan our model in space, and click the tool again to deactivate it. By the way, you can't change the order or position of the tools, just whether or not they're visible. Let's reactivate the pan tool. Pan moves your model parallel to the screen, up and down, and right and left. You can pan the view while the other commands are active. The keyboard shortcut for the pan tool is F2. and you need to hold it down while you're dragging your mouse. By the way, if you've accidentally closed the navigation bar by clicking this little X, you can show it again by going back to the View tab, Windows panel, User Interface. Ensure that navigation bar is checked. Another way to close the navigation bar is to right-click on a tool and select Close Navigation Bar. Alright, let's learn about the view manipulation tools. First, we're going to start with the zoom tools. Click on the downward pointing arrowhead and select the primary zoom tool from this drop-down menu. Note the icon for the primary zoom tool. It's a magnifying glass with a plus and minus symbol. The keyboard shortcut for a regular zoom is F3. Note my cursor icon, this arrow indicating a change in size. You are able to use the zoom tool while other tools on this bar or elsewhere in the interface are active. It's easiest if your mouse has a wheel. To zoom in, scroll your mouse wheel toward you, and to zoom out, scroll away from you. Without the mouse wheel, left-click in the graphic area, drag your mouse toward you to zoom in close, and drag away from you to zoom out. You need to be holding down your left mouse button during that dragging. You can make other zoom tools available on the navigation bar, but they're available as part of the expanded zoom menu. The Zoom All icon shows an icon fully contained within a magnifying glass. Use Zoom All so that all elements of your model or assembly display in the graphic area. You can zoom a drawing so that the active sheet fits within the graphic window, for example. When Zoom All is active, as well as the other zoom tools, you can still zoom in and out with your mouse wheel, but not with the click drag. Let's look at Zoom Window now. The icon for Zoom Window is a window within the magnifying glass. Use Zoom Window to define an area of a part, assembly, or drawing that you want to fill the graphics window. The cursor displays as a window and crosshairs appear. Use these to locate the area you want to zoom into. Then, left-click and drag to frame the area to zoom into, and then release your mouse. Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look at Zoom Selected, the last zoom option. The magnifying glass shows. The Zoom Selected tool works like this. Note the magnifying glass with the arrow inside, by the way. You make a selection of a face, edge, or object, either before or after you activate the Zoom Selected tool, and then it fills your graphic area with the selection. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. Now we're going to take a look at the Orbit tool. This is the next tool on the navigation bar. We've got two orbit options, Orbit a free orbit and Constrained orbit. We'll be looking at the free orbit option first. This rotates the model freely in space. My cursor is transformed and a scope appears around the model. Moving your mouse left or right rotates around the vertical screen axis. Moving the mouse toward you or away from you rotates the view around the horizontal screen axis. The center of rotation is the center of the screen. The Constrained Orbit tool works a little bit differently. Let's select that from the submenu, Constrained Orbit. This tool rotates your view around axes in model space. Left to right movements move the part in model space axes that pass through the top and bottom faces of the view cube, as if your part was on a turntable. Mouse toward and away from you to rotate around the horizontal screen axis. You set the center point using the steering wheel, and we'll learn about that in our next lesson. Now let's learn how to use the View Face command. The keyboard shortcut for View Face is Page Up, by the way. You select a planar face, and View Face will reposition that face parallel to the screen and centered in the middle of your graphic area. You can also use this tool to position a line or edge horizontal to the screen. Previous View is a handy tool. This returns your graphic display to the previous view position and zoom value. You can go back through the various views you've taken in the active session, and when no more views are available, the tool won't be available. Below, we have Next View, which is available after you've activated Previous View. You can keep clicking through all the views you've taken during the session. The next tool is Projection Type. We can choose orthographic or perspective. With an orthographic projection, all points are projected on lines parallel to the screen. Basically, a 3D model appears flatter than it will in perspective projection, where a 3-point perspective is used. Parallel lines in perspective view converge on a vanishing point, as things appear to us in the real world. Using a perspective view works well when you're viewing in 3D, but it can be distracting when you're sketching on a flat face or viewing the model from a standard 2D orthographic view. And this concludes our lesson about the navigation bar. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the steering wheel.